halves. This should be relatively quick and painful for you. The book calls this recognizing halves.
Mr. Hahn, this is for Cabron for the birthday.
So, really? Well, happy birthday, Cabron. Is that a cupcake on top?
Yes, it is.
It might not be the
Okay. Here's the spiel. Here's the spiel on today's little thing here. The reason why fractions are so confusing is that an infinite amount of fractions can mean the same exact thing. Okay, and that's what we're kind of talking about today. You know the fraction 1/2, correct? I mean, that's like you have a circle, or you have a pizza, you cut it into 2 pieces, and there's your half of it. Pretty good drawing there, isn't it? Well, you know very well that if you call up Papa John's, Domino's, one of the 18 billion pizza places we have, when they bring you a pizza, they don't just cut it into 2 pieces. John, how many pieces usually do they cut it into? Do you know? 8 of them is usually the gist of that. Okay, which means they usually take the pizza and they slice it kind of like that, and you get 8 pieces. Well, if you ate half of that pizza, how many pieces did you actually eat, Luke? 4 of them. And like I said, the confusing thing about math, or fractions, is that 4/8 and 1/2 are the same exact fraction, okay, but they use different numbers. And the book wants you to be able to tell, what fractions are equal to half. 1/2 equals that, if it was the same pizza and it was cut into 6 pieces, let's see if we can do that. Cut it into 6 pieces. How many pieces would you eat if you ate half of it? And I think you probably know it is 3, right? 3 out of 6 pieces, those are all halves. So they want you to be able to tell what's a quick way to know if a fraction equals 1/2. By the way, what if you got a pizza delivered and they cut it into 9 pieces? And I can't even do that with mine. Well, yeah, let's say, because not all pizzas come round. They do make the square pizza, which is going to be easy for us to cut in 9 pieces. Here's my pizza. It's cut into 9 pieces. How many pieces would you eat to get half of that? Exactly half, by the way. Matthew?
4.5.
No, you'd have to be 4.5. And how do we show 4.5 over 9? We really can't, because it's a fraction over fraction. If it's an odd number, it's really hard to figure out the halves when it comes to fractions, so let's not think about odd numbers. How do you know if a fraction is the same as half? If you had your pizza and you cut it into 10 pieces, how many would you have to eat, Ella? 5. Or if you took your pizza and you cut it into 100 pieces, how do you know how many pieces? Gianna, it would be 50. So how do we know if a fraction is the same as 1/2? What is our general rulage of thumbage there? Somebody care to speculate? Matthew says,
If you add the top number twice, you get the bottom number.
okay, let's call them in the math words here. One way math says, well, if you add the numerator twice, if you add numerator to itself, you get the bottom number, which is called the denominator. I am the denominator, as Schwarzenegger says. 3 plus 3 would be 6. Another way to say that would be, and I know this sounds kind of goofy, if the top number is half the bottom number, the fraction is half. If the numerator is 1/2 of the bottom number, then it is the same as 1/2. Okay, let's see what kind of questions they ask you. Now, why is that helpful, you ask? Well, it's helpful because of this. When sometimes we're asked to compare fractions, and let's say my comparison is this, 5/12 compared to 4/8. How do I know for sure that one is bigger than the other? Well, you want to think about it in terms of 1/2. How does 4/8 compare to 1/2? Is it the same as 1/2, bigger than 1/2, or smaller than 1/2? Well, it is. Okay, this is the same as 1/2. 5/12. What would for something to have a 12 on the bottom, for it to be 1/2, we'd have to have what on the top? What's half of 12? 6. So if this was 6/12, these would be equal. But this is not 6/12, it is smaller than 6/12. So this has to be smaller than 1/2, which means, which fraction is bigger, 4/8 or 5/12? 4/8. Because this is the same as 1/2, this is smaller than 1/2. And if you can find that half connection there, another example might be 12/24 or 6/12, what's bigger? 12/24 compared to 6/12. How do those two compare? But again, think in terms of half. How does this compare with a half? Chase, it's, so this is, how does this compare to a half? Is it the same, or is it bigger, or is it less than a half? 12/24 is bigger, smaller, or the same as half? Same. 6/12 is bigger, smaller, same as half. So these are both the same as a half, so they are both equal to each other. So if you can compare your fractions to 1/2, one more, 5/8 or 5/12. 5/8 compared to 5/12. Which one's bigger, which one's smaller, or are they equal? Jacob Homerding? And why? How does this compare to half? Bigger or smaller? If this was equal to a half, it'd be 4/8, right? So 5/8 means it must be, it's got one more than half, so it's going to be bigger than a half. 5/12, bigger, smaller, or equal to half? Well, half of 12 is 5, bigger or smaller than 6. So this is less than a half. This is bigger than a half, so what's bigger? 5/8. Bigger than a half, less than a half. And you're just comparing those things to 1/2. That sounds exciting, doesn't it?